It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. My lucky day. Don't need a pot of gold.
Hello, everybody. You're there, right? Yeah, you're there. Okay. Hi. Good morning. Oh, I'm so excited about today. Today, Ian just wrote something in the chat. If any of you have an iPhone and you're familiar with iPhone autocorrect, I just have to say one word and you'll understand exactly what I mean. Well, I won't say the word. But iPhone will autocorrect a word into another word that, anyway, he just wrote TGIF, and then he wrote the word duck, and out of the corner of my eye, that's not what I saw. Ooh. Okay, we have so much stuff to talk about today, and it's Giveaway Friday, but let me start whatever it is that I'm supposed to say. Hi, good morning, everybody. Today is September 18th, and I want to welcome you to episode 45 of Coffee and Cloud Native. My name is Adrian Goins. Every night, I and my army of bots scour the internet for news and content related to Kubernetes and Cloud Native, and every weekday you'll find me here to share the bits that I find interesting. It's a curated list of content, which means I go through around 200 submissions every night, and I select only a handful for the next day's show. These are the tools and the products and the things that I would use, and I'm super excited to share them with you. I'm also super excited because you guys make this show possible. The more of you who watch and interact, the more value it has for the community at large. And we're starting to see businesses respond to what we're talking about on the show. And I have some of that for you here today. So together, we're able to really lift up the community. And that's ultimately what this is all about. I am joined today by my lovely assistant, WifeBot. Just had to get her chat window up over here. And we should also be joined by Nightbot in just a moment. That's very important because what day is it today? Giveaway Friday. That's right. So if you're watching this now or in the future, please click the thumbs up button so that the YouTube algorithm shares it with other people. Subscribe to the channel. Don't subscribe to this. Subscribe to the channel. Come on. Follow me on Twitter. Let's blow this thing up, right? Let's see who we've got in the chat. We have lots of people in the chat. I see we're talking about the word duck now. So good morning, Casimirex. Hello, Nuno. Nuno, we're going to talk about your video here in a second. Ian of the autocorrect. Stephen, good morning. John, Khan, hi. Justin, Frank, Mauricio, so great to see all of you. Duck Nebuchadnezzar. Wow, totally unrelated. Okay, hi. Who else? Oh, now it makes sense, the TGIF duck. Hi, okay. Ian was saying hi to duck. I missed that part. I just saw the anyway. Trix, Sajad, good morning. Backer, hello. So nice to see all of you. Okay, let's get started. There were some last minute entries for content this morning, so undoubtedly we're gonna either run long or not have stuff to talk about. So let's just get going, right? First of all, that window is too small. Stand by. First of all, let me fix that window. Let me close these other things over here that are blocking the chat window with the lovely WifeBot. Close, 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 close. Okay, let's try this again. Hey, there we go. First of all, today is Giveaway Friday. We crossed 2,000 subscribers on YouTube this week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we are giving away, absolutely for sure, one copy of Kubernetes Mastery from Brett Fisher. Like other Giveaway Fridays, if we get more than 50 people watching the stream, then somebody who is in the chat will be randomly chosen to win a second copy of this course. The way this works is if you're in the chat, you just need to say a word. Let me see if Nightbot's up. And okay, Nightbot's up. That's good. So you just need to say a word. You only need to say it once. And the word for today is vacation. Wifebot will type that in the chat just so that, we don't want to have any spelling errors and or whatever that disqualify you. Vacation, because after today, I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks, which basically means I'm going to stay at home. I just won't be doing the show, and I'll be doing some other stuff. So I see people are typing the word vacation. Nightbot is picking it up. That's great. We'll talk about this. We'll remind people. Wifebot will remind people. You only need to say it once to be entered to win. And later on in the show, we will do the giveaways. We got 28 people watching right now. We need to get that number up to 50 for the second giveaway to happen. All right? Cool. Yesterday, Rancher released 1.19.1 of K3s. This is the first release in the 1.19 line, and it includes a whole bunch of wonderful things, including experimental embedded etcd support for HA. K3s will always do HA with an external data store. That could be an RDBMS like MySQL or Postgres. It could be an external etcd data store, but the embedded key value store in a standalone K3s installation is SQLite. They were trying to get the HA version of SQLite, which is called DQLite, to work with K3s, and they weren't having it. Like, I don't know what the deal was, but DQLite is a fine product by itself, but DQLite in K3s had what we like to say, had issues. And I almost sent a tweet out this morning saying, yeah, issues, kind of like the western half of the United States has issues with their forests right now. They recognized that, they pulled it out, and they've been working on getting an embedded etcd in there. This is the first release that has that, but I want to call out that when Rancher says something's experimental, they're not playing around. Do not run this in production until we get enough people on it, kicking the tires, driving it up and down the block to know that it is actually stable. In your lab environments, please do play with it and provide feedback on your experiences with it, open up issues, help us make it better, because that's how things graduate to stable. But don't put this in production. If you watch my Mega Rancher upgrade video, you'll see that I'm like, yeah, so how experimental could it be? Don't do it. DQLite was super experimental, and it totally killed my cluster. This is better, since it's etcd already. Anyway, so yeah, enough said. There's a bunch of other stuff going on in here. I'll have the release notes linked in the video description after the show. You can read this, bring it down, play it, install it. Note that stable is still 1.18.8. So this just rolled out yesterday. The way that Rancher's latest versus stable architecture works is something rolls out and it's latest, unless it has a CVE, in which case it's usually immediately promoted to, or a fix for a CVE, in which case it's usually promoted immediately to stable. But for regular releases, they sit in latest for a week or two to make sure that there's no issues that didn't get caught by QA and that stuff can be fixed before it moves to stable. Stable products that are covered under Rancher's service level agreement are covered. Latest are not. So we want to make sure that when something rolls to stable, it's not going to break anything in your environment. So if you're running in production, always run stable. If you're running in a lab, always run latest, or don't always, but you can. Don't run the experimental stuff in production. Our very own Nuno, Captain Corsair, who is in the chat today, everybody say hi to Nuno. He jumped right on this last night and released a video showing how to get up and running with the new embedded etcd feature. I didn't even know that Nuno had a YouTube channel, but he does. So let's go and subscribe to that channel. Nuno is a big supporter of what I do here on the show. Thank you so much for putting this out. And he tweeted about it this morning, and I saw it. I was doing my ROMWAD morning stretch routine, and I was like, oh, I got to get that on the show. I'll have this linked in the show as well, or actually, well, you know what? I'm not going to put it in the chat, because if I do and you click it, you'll leave the chat, and then you won't be eligible to win. Okay, I see people. I see not everybody. That's okay. If you want to win today, just type the word vacation in the chat. If you don't want to win this because you don't need it, enter to win anyway. If you don't want it, then just tell me who you'd like me to give it to. All I need is an email address and a name, and I'll be happy to give it to your mom, your sister, your friend, Joe the homeless guy, anybody that you like. I mentioned in my intro that businesses are starting to respond to the things that we talk about here in the show, and a company who has been very responsive, and I really appreciate that, is Talos. I showcased Talos's product, and I pointed out that their pricing page was broken, and they fixed it. Hey, that's cool. I didn't even know it was supposed to look like this. So if you go to their pricing page now, they didn't know that it was broken. So thank you guys for watching the show and for going in and fixing this. This gives you a good overview of all of the features that are available in the various tiers. But something else that they did is they released this blog in response to, look at that, they released it literally today. They sent me a tweet about it 6 hours ago. I was in bed. I didn't wake up. I saw it this morning when I got up. They released a blog talking about this CVE that we were talking about yesterday. And while the kernel of Talos was still vulnerable, because Linux kernels just are vulnerable, that's not their fault, they go into a description of how the architecture of the product has mitigated the risk associated with this particular CVE. I'll have this linked in the show notes. And another conversation that I've been having with Talos is around the timeouts that resulted in me having difficulty with, my teleprompter's not working, me having difficulty getting it running here in the house because I live so far away from everything that the timeouts were, oh, there we go. Now the prompter works. Hello, prompter. That the timeouts were causing it to not load. So they are working on putting together an image list for air gap installations, which will allow me, little old me, to pre-pull stuff from and populate the cache, so I'll be able to deploy this. I am really, really looking forward to spending time with this in particular over the next 2 weeks when I'll have some extra time, because I won't be spending 5 hours a night or 4 hours a night, depending on what day it is, putting together the show stuff. So thank you guys. And go read about how their architecture works, because it's really smart. Immutable infrastructure. It's the way to go. Yesterday we also had a conversation about how Sysdig was the first one to reach out and say that they had mitigation instructions for that CVE that work with Falco as well as with Sysdig Secure and the pod security policy advisor that's in Sysdig Secure. In that conversation, sorry, YouTube held a comment for moderation. I've never seen it do that before. I don't know why. There was nothing in the comment. In that conversation that we had in the chat yesterday, Shipwreck pointed out that there may be an issue with just blanketly setting a restriction against CapNet raw because Istio pods need that. So I reached back out to Sysdig and we had a conversation about that. And they, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. They updated the blog and added some qualification language. And then they point to another post from Google that talks about how you can actually mitigate this without necessarily putting a blanket PSP across everything. Whether that's pod security policy, whether that's using Gatekeeper, if you're using that instead of PSPs in your cluster, or just by directly updating the specs on individual pods that are exposed out to the world. That's a great option as well. I will link to Sysdig's blog today so you can read that, and then you can follow the links in there to get to the Google stuff. And now we get to the actual real stuff that I had for today. This one's been held over for a few days, and it's just, oh, actually, you know what, before I do that, happy birthday, Dan. Now, back to this. I put this on because it's, well, one, I think it's pretty cool. It's top 50 Kubernetes interview questions and answers for 2020. According to somebody. I don't know who actually puts this together or how they define that these are the top things. Maybe this is just what Jean Basque Training has seen in their environments. Some of these are really good, and some of them are less than really good, but they're all still fun. I spent some time looking around on the internet to see if there was like a Kubernetes Mad Lib generator, and there's not, and I think that somebody should create one. I don't have time to do so. But I tried to see if I could fit this into like a cards for containers kind of game where we could swap words out and try and make them funnier than they were. And then I realized, you know what, we can just probably randomly pick questions. And, ooh, we are at 44. We need to get to 50. We need to get to 50. It's mirrored. All right. So we just like randomly pick some. Like they have questions and they have answers. So for example, what do you know about Heapster? My response, I know that no one uses it. What is Google Container Engine? What is kubectl? What is Minikube? You just scroll through. Can you explain about Kubernetes Controller Manager? That's a good question. What is etcd? Okay, that's also a good question. What is a load balancer? I actually disagree with their answer. What's a load balancer in Kubernetes? It's the same thing that a load balancer is anywhere else. Perhaps what provides load balancer functionality at layer 4 or layer 7 in a Kubernetes cluster would be a better question, because then they come down and they talk about ingresses, and they also get that wrong. What's the difference between a replica set and a replication controller? Good question. Wherever you are in your Kubernetes world, this would be fun to just go through and read the questions and just say, oh, I know the answer to that, or I don't know the answer to that. And if it's something that you should know or you think you should know the answer for, look at their answers, cross-check them against the Kubernetes documentation. We'll just leave it at that. Scenario-based questions. So we'll have this in the show notes. They've got scenes. They've got all sorts of stuff. It's a pretty cool little article that they put together. So thank you guys for putting that out there. We had Kaniko on the show. I would like to use Kaniko, but it's one of those things where I don't have any CI/CD pipeline. I don't have anything related to that, and I'm one of my 2-week vacation taking time off plans is to look at Fleet from Rancher and look at other GitOps solutions to model and get those into the clusters that I operate, just so that I'm using them every day and can stay up to date with what's going on. Kaniko is something that I know some of you use, and it's something that I kind of at least want to get up and running with, so I can be like, oh, okay, now I understand what this is. Wifebot is giving me updates. We are at 47. That's crazy. Come on, we can do this. And remember, we just have to touch 50. We don't have to like, I want to stay there, but if we just get to 50, that will trigger the event. Okay. Trix is talking about vacations. Vacations are for working on fun things. Vacations are for working on all of the things that I didn't get to do because I'm working. You are absolutely right. And it's only a partial vacation. I'm taking a 2-week vacation from the show because literally this takes not just the time that I spend, 30 minutes before, 30 minutes during, but 4 to 5 hours additional time prepping the show every single night, 5 days a week. And I got yard work to do. Anyway, Kaniko, I found this article that's basically a really quick intro in how to get up and running with Kaniko. I liked this because it will give me enough use for it to get it up, get it in a cluster, take a look at it, push some stuff through it, figure out what I like and what I don't like so that I can make an informed decision about it. And that's great. For me, the best way to figure things out is to figure things out. It's kind of like going to a store and trying on clothes. Like, you put a hat on. That doesn't fit. Like, it's much better to take a bunch of things off the shelf and be like, oh, I think I might like these. And then you go into the dressing room and you put them on and you're like, wow, I totally don't like this. Or wow, this makes me look whatever, something that I don't like. It's just not comfortable. That's fine. You don't have to use the tool, but you don't know that until you actually, put the shoes on and go for a little walk. Do you guys know about this? Oh, 50. Well, okay, then let's give people, if you're watching and you want an opportunity to win, we have now triggered the event. So we will be doing 2 giveaways today, not back to back. We'll do them a few minutes apart. If you want to win, join the chat on YouTube and just type the word vacation, and that will enter you to win this Kubernetes Mastery course from Brett Fisher. So we'll give another minute for people to join and say the word vacation while I talk about this. Some of you don't work in AWS, and that's fine. You can, I don't know, surf Instagram or something like that while I'm talking about this. This is a CNI driver for Kubernetes that allows you to use the VPC network addresses directly on your pods. What? I saw this. This has been getting bumped down for the last couple of days because we've had other stuff that took priority over it. It's really cool. Basically, he talks about how elastic network interfaces are allocated. And so he says, for example, on an M4-4X large, you can have up to 8 ENIs. So that's an elastic network interface. And each ENI can have up to 30 IP addresses. This CNI driver will always try to keep one spare address. So it bases the number of ENIs off of the number of pods currently running on the node. So if it's between 0 and 29, then it will allocate a second ENI. And then the warm pool of addresses is this factor, which basically means you have 58 addresses available. So you have 58 theoretical addresses you can use in your pod network. If it jumps up to between 30 and 58, it'll allocate 2 more ENIs, giving you a total maximum of 87 addresses available. And it goes on with all sorts of crazy configuration stuff and whatnot, and this, that, and the other. Being able to use, I was going to say real addresses, but you're operating in a virtual environment. So the more layers of virtualization you have, the more latency you get, the more things you have that can break, the more translations can happen, and being able to directly use VPC addresses on your pods is kind of amazing. There's lots of configuration options and lots of discussions about how and what and this and that and the other. Okay. We're going to do this. Well, we're going to do one of them. So last chance, if you haven't said the word vacation in the chat, you need to say the word vacation in the chat because we are going to have in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Madam Lori. Madam Lori doesn't count. Marcos Forcresato. Marcos Alginaldo Forcresato. I'm butchering your name. I'm sorry. Forcresato? Marcos has won. Congratulations, Marcos. Wifebot will now tell you in the chat how this works. And I'm going to go back and talk about something else, and we will do the second giveaway here in a few moments. Cool. I see that you've won. Excellent. Okay. What's next? Talking earlier about, I say companies, but it's not just companies, it's organizations. I have a regular dialogue with the gentleman who's behind the Nginx ingress controller on Kubernetes. He's really cool to chat with. Like, I feel so humbled when he comes. He's just really, really cool. And I'm building these relationships with organizations, with the maintainers of products and projects and things. And Dan from the BSD box. Well, Dan is actually not from the BSD box. Dan is the BSD box. And this is not the same Dan that I said happy birthday to. That's a different Dan. Dan and I have been talking about K3s support for kube-vip. And he said, yes, it's something he would like to do. And he's been very active this week in first putting up some sample docs, which I talked about last week. And now he posted a gist yesterday with specific instructions asking for people to please go try this and provide feedback on it so that he can make this a production documentation feature in the next release of kube-vip. I've passed this off to the K3s team over at Rancher, but if any of you use K3s and would like to test this, that would be very helpful. The gist will be linked in the show notes, and you post comments at the bottom of it. If you don't know what kube-vip is a service load balancer solution for Kubernetes that allows you to run service load balancer services on bare metal environments. This will allocate addresses from a pool of available addresses, and you don't have to You don't have to, well, it just works. But kube-vip is special because you can not only run it inside of your cluster, but you can run it outside of your cluster. And you can use it for load balancing the control plane nodes of your cluster. If you have an HA cluster, you could talk to any individual control plane, but your kube config only talks to one of them. So if that node is down, you have to edit your kube config and point it to a different one, and that's just no good. The recommendation has always been put a load balancer in front of it, and that's just another piece of infrastructure that you have to use. People say, oh, well, do keep alive D or VRRP, or that's just another piece of infrastructure. This runs on the node and just moves an address around, much like what keep alive D would, but with a lot less burden. It's just a better solution. It's a great product. I am also looking forward to playing with this because, as you know, I'm building a new Kubernetes cluster here in my house, which I've been doing for like 4 months now because I have no time. So this is one of the things I'm looking forward to playing with this week. Give it a spin, post some feedback. Let's get this out into production. Now, let's do the second giveaway. Those of you who didn't hear WifeBot say that Madame Lori doesn't count, Madame Lori is from my wife's community, coloring community. I was going to let her win. I was just going to let her give it to somebody else. But she doesn't deal with technology or Kubernetes or anything at all. So, yeah. So it's not that she won and then got disqualified. But WifeBot declared that we needed to pick somebody from our community. Let's pick somebody else from our community. Last chance. If you're in the YouTube chat and you have not already said the word vacation, say it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Brendan Rooney. Brendan Rooney, you have won the second Kubernetes Mastery course from Brett Fisher. And if you saw, I don't know if Nightbot announced it in the chat, but there was another person from my wife's coloring community who also got picked first. Yeah, that was Cassandra. So congratulations, Cassandra. I'm sorry, but the Madame Lori rule is also applied to you. And the winner is Brendan Rooney. That's interesting. Nightbot only says the first one. He doesn't say the second one? Huh. Well, Brendan Rooney. Brendan Rooney? Calling Brendan Rooney. Brendan Rooney. I don't know why my wife's coloring community is just so lucky today, but that's pretty cool. What are the odds? We have 50 people watching. We have, I don't even know how many people in the chat. Both of you, Madame Lori and Cassandra, go buy a lotto ticket today, because wow. Okay, so Brendan, WifeBot will communicate with you, and let's go on to the tool of the day. What did I not get to cover today? I'm going to post all of these in the show notes because normally whatever I don't cover on a particular day gets moved to the next day, but the next day is going to be in 2 weeks. 2 weeks and 3 days. So this stuff won't be relevant then. So I'm just going to post it in the show notes anyway. Come back and take a look. Gitlab wrote a really nice article on the lessons that they learned from moving to Kubernetes for GitLab.com a year ago. This article is, I love GitLab. I just love GitLab. I love everything about GitLab. I know a bunch of people who work there, but I loved GitLab before I knew people who worked there. They describe a lot of stuff related to, I'm not supposed to even talk about it, but oh my God, I love GitLab. Just go read this. It's a really cool article. And guys from GitLab who are watching, girls, people, again, I'm sorry, I'm really bad at that. Thank you for everything you do. Alexi LED has been on the show in the past, and I was going to talk about Pumba, his chaos testing tool for Docker and Kubernetes. It says for Docker, but there's a section at the bottom that talks about how to do it with Kubernetes. Litmus Chaos released 1.8.0 yesterday that introduces the alpha release of the Litmus portal. If you do anything with chaos engineering, we've had Litmus on the show before. Hi guys, I also love everything that you do. check this out, and please give them feedback about the portal. They'd like to graduate that to beta as soon as possible. Oh, look, they have a user guide. I was going to talk about that, but there's no time. This is a summary article on the CNCF, or sorry, on NewStack, which is basically the same thing, because they're sponsored by the CNCF. This is an article that's a summary of a security presentation from KubeCon that talks about the baseline stuff that you can do to build a proper day-to-day security workflow in Kubernetes. Also an excellent blog. Sysdig had a blog that we didn't get on yesterday either. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. But go read it. This is about how to manage AppArmor profiles in Kubernetes using a tool called kube-AppArmor Manager. I probably could have just made this the tool of the day. This is an article from AWS. Also, I wish I could have talked about this today, about how to use Gatekeeper as a drop-in alternative for pod security policies. And it says how to do it in Amazon EKS. That's the only time in this entire article that they mention EKS. This article is how to replace PSPs with Gatekeeper in Kubernetes, step by step. I'm going to do this during my vacation as well in my DigitalOcean cluster, in addition to exploring a rollout of Volterra's stuff. Volterra also watches the show, and if you didn't see the Volterra show, go look for that. Wow. My tweet about that was using Volterra is like putting a mechanized mech warrior in front of your Kubernetes cluster, like Ed 209 or something like that. And now we get to the tool of the day. Oh, tool of the day. I had a tool of the day theme. I had Nuno's video uses Ode to Joy as the soundtrack, and I was like, you know what? For Christmas we should have that tool of the day, tool of the day, tool of the day. But then I have to come up with lyrics for the Actually, that's not tool of the day. That's not Ode to Joy. That's the Bells song. Ode to Joy is dun 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 dun, which he does. That's what he actually used. It's not Christmas, so it doesn't matter. Cruster. There are lots of things about how to get Kubernetes on a Raspberry Pi. And admittedly, I'm partial to K3s. I know that K3s works great on an RPi, but there are lots of other things. And the ultimate goal here is to get more people using Kubernetes. Period, flat, the end, full stop. I don't really care what you use, as long as you're using Kubernetes. Raspberry Pi is an extremely accessible platform, and this is pretty cool. This gentleman, whose name I believe is Zane, I thought I had that in my show notes. Zane, yes. Zane put time and effort into building a thing called Cruster. He has a 3-minute video. Basically, it's a standalone application that you run on your local machine, and you set up some configuration, and then it will burn images to the SD cards for the Raspberry Pis, and then you can just go pop those into the Pis and turn them on. You need no keyboard and no monitor, and the tool does auto discovery of Pis running on the network. And then you can do a bunch of additional configuration. It'll auto pull public keys, SSH public keys from GitHub or from a local file, and it acts as an interface to the Raspberry Pi layer, so that if for some reason you had to build a new one or whatever, you can configure them there. And then you have the Kubernetes cluster running on top of them. This was just announced earlier this week, and I think it's really cool. I think that he has plans for making it do more, but if you have Raspberry Pis, go take this for a spin and give feedback to him. I've never encountered him or his organization before, but I want to thank him for putting the time and effort and energy into creating a tool to make getting Kubernetes on a Raspberry Pi that much easier. And I'm telling you, as soon as my mom's done building a service mesh, she's going to be deploying Kubernetes on a Raspberry Pis for all of her quilting friends. And you think I'm kidding, right? My mom would like to use a service mesh for easier communication with me. I'm sure she would love that if she could be like, oh, I'm directly connected to you in your house now. Mom, Betty Crocker voice. Hi, Mom. Oh, we're super late, and that's super okay because this is the show before the vacation. If you liked what you saw today, give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. I will be back in 2 weeks, well, 2 weeks from Monday, to talk about whatever is new and interesting in the world of Kubernetes and Cloud Native. And if you think that you're not going to hear from me between now and then, you're probably wrong, because I am incapable of actually taking a vacation. But it won't be this show. It'll be something else. And I can't tell you what it is yet, because it's a secret. I will have all of the links and timestamps for everything I did and didn't talk about in today's video up in the video description and on the website in about a half an hour. Thank you, Looney007, for pointing out that I didn't put the website link in the show when I announced the website. I've fixed that. Follow me on Twitter, and you'll get a link when that... I'm so in need of this vacation. Follow me on Twitter. You'll get a notification when that happens, because I tweet about it, or just keep hitting F5 on the website, which is adrian.goins.com. If you have something that you would like for me to consider for the show, hit me up, let me know. Contact details are in the video description. You can tweet with the CNCN hashtag, and I will pick it up. I will still be keeping an eye on that and putting things in the notes for discussing in 2 weeks if it's not time sensitive. But in the meantime, if there's anything that I talked about that you use, please tell me in the comments. I love hearing about your experiences with these things. Maybe now this is your vacation where you have a couple of weeks to start using the stuff that I've been talking about for the last 9 weeks, because I know I just bombard you every day with new and exciting and interesting things. I'm going to miss you for the time that I'm away. I'm looking forward already to coming back and spending this time with you and talking about everything that we have to talk about. So have a great day. Have a great couple of weeks, everybody. Keep learning, and I'll be back before you even know it. Bye. Bye. Tool of the day.